The Gentleman Style Show.
Welcome to the Gentleman Style Show. I'm Baldwin.
And I'm Preacher. Today on the Gentleman Style Show, we got an eclectic type of guest. I mean, this man does a lot of different things.
Eclectic. I don't even know what.
I mean, he does a lot of different things. He's not one thing. He's not one-dimensional. He's multi-dimensional.
Okay.
So he does a few different things. And he's dabbled in a few arenas, and he's just continuing to grow.
Okay, so I'm assuming that we're gonna find all of that out today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's not wait. Let's go ahead and bring him on in.
Welcome to the Gentleman Style Set, Mr. Remarcus Steele, a.k.a. Vigilante.
Okay.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I'm trying to look like y'all.
Yeah. Hey, man, I was checking out that piece around your neck earlier and everything with the song in it.
Yeah.
I was actually looking at some stuff like that the other day. I don't know. Are we living in like the Matrix? Whenever you see something, now it's materializing in real life. Did someone make that jewel, that piece for you?
Yeah.
That's custom, right?
Custom made. Yeah.
What do you call that?
So, all right. So this is a tiger's eye that I currently have on right now. I had a double chain to where I had a longer one and it's a clear cord. Yeah. And I wear that when I usually have like a t-shirt on. But it would sink in under the undershirt if I had the other one on. So the way it came about was my ex-girl, she used to be a yogi and a jewelry maker. Ooh. So what she would do is she would go to the mountains and she would clean them in water, and then she would come back and then wrap them handmade, tie it with the string. And I wanted to support her business, of course, but the string was kind of feminine. Yeah. So I told her, if you can make something that's more my style with the crystal, I'll endorse it for you. And so she was like, let me go to the drawing board on that one. She came back about a month later and she had a big wrapper chain and she put the crystal on the end of it. I said, that's it.
That's it.
And she didn't like it. She said, I don't want to sell it to nobody else. This is just something that I did for you.
Right.
And I had mixed feelings about that because everywhere I would go, everybody would notice it because people like flashy things, but they also like classy things. And this was like the perfect blend. Right. And in order for you to become a millionaire, you have to find the first niche first. That's why it's always hard to make the first million first. Right. And then the other niches kind of fall under that. So I was trying to tell her like, yo, I think that this might be it for you. Because the wrapper chains cost anywhere between 10 to 20,000 off the rip. Right. Now, when you add the crystal, that adds sentimental value. Right. People pay for sentimental value in bulk. So we looking at 100,000, 200,000 per order. So with her, she was just like, I don't like it that much to even do that.
Wow.
So I said, I'm gonna have to explore these options with other companies then. Right. And you guinea pig, and I'm always give you your credit. But when you see me doing it with other companies, know that we had this conversation first. Right. So that's how it came about.
And she was fine with it.
She was fine with it.
I know we need to back up. Go ahead.
Hey, how are you, man?
Go ahead.
Anyway, let's start off with those who don't know you as well. Give us a little background. Tell us where you're from. Give us a little bit of that background.
All right, so born in Flint, 1994, December 9th, Sagittarius, for my Sagittarius gang. And I was raised in Ben Harbor, which is a smaller city in Michigan. So it'd be like the equivalence of moving from Inglewood to Compton in California, as far as danger too. And so I grew up in a very hostile environment and had to learn quick how to adapt. I was a third kid, third father from my mom. And I grew up in a single household, and then my mom married when I was 11, and then she remarried again when I was 12. And when I turned 15 in 2010, we moved from Michigan to Atlanta, random. Mom just came home one day and was like, yo, we moving to Atlanta. I said, cool, I had no objection. And we came to Atlanta, best decision that was ever made. Saved my entire life, created the persona that we now know as Vigilante, and created the brand that we now know as Vigilante.
So how did that start? So how did the whole Vigilante piece, like, how did you, I guess, that persona even start?
So, like, growing up, my oldest sister, she always had like this enormous like strength within her. She was fearless. She was probably the first fearless person I've ever seen in my life. She's not afraid of anything. And with her being a woman, I would always think that like her feminine nature would kind of excuse her being scared, so to speak, kind of give her a scapegoat. But it never did. And any task that she had to take on, she took it on wholeheartedly. And when you raised by a single mom, the oldest sibling is always like the second mom, so to speak. So I was kind of raised by my older sister and raised by my mom until my stepdad came into the picture, and still was raised by my older sister, because they kind of butted heads when that dynamic came, because she really didn't want to relinquish that responsibility because she had always had it. I can't even really remember a time where my older sister was like a kid, if that makes sense. And so that fearlessness that she had, I kind of took it on into the industry. And when I learned what a vigilante was, which I was watching a show called Video Vigilante, and that show was a Caucasian man filming the police breaking the law. It was a show that used to come on back in the day, and I watched it one time. That sparked my interest to figure out what the word vigilante meant, because people don't use it in everyday conversation. So it's a leader of a self-appointed group who takes matters into his own hands because he finds regular enforcement to be inadequate. So I'm like, oh, okay, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Batman. But then there's a whole nother side to it. The Joker, Thanos, everybody that we would consider to be an enemy or a terrorist, also heroes. So it depends on which vigilante that you see. You guys, are you Avengers fans?
Yeah.
Like y'all watch Avengers?
Yeah.
So it really depends. Like Thanos is probably my favorite character. Not to say that I agree with him, but I understand where he's coming from.
Right.
As a Titan who watched his whole
his race was suffering because of
the population. Right. For the people who actually understand the backstory and don't just watch the movie, right. like them, they understand it. Right. So his mission was pretty much to save people who weren't asking to be saved, right. But he just felt it was a moral victory for him. And so he looks at the Avengers as those being the bad guys. Right. Like, you're trying to stop me from saving them. Right. And they're looking at him like, we didn't ask for your help. And we're not going to kill half the population for you to feel like your purpose is fulfilled. Right. So we are butting heads in this moment. And that's a typical man thing. Either we going to stand over here and stand over here, or we going to come here and we going to find some type of median. And their median was combat. But unfortunately, they met the best person to ever do combat. Right. That was the only hard part.
Right. That's dope. That's dope. And speaking of combat, I know we were talking earlier.
Oh, yeah.
You are a celebrity boxer.
Yes.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. What you want to know about it?
How did you get into it? Let's start from there.
Okay, so it started off with, I'll even give you a little bit more of a backstory. I was in a 4-year relationship with the girl who made the crystals. Yeah. And then our last piece of the last 6 months of our relationship was actually a poly relationship. We brought in another female and we were all cohabitating. And we all mutually had a breakup. So at that time, I felt kind of lost. Everything was going well in my life. I had just got verified on Instagram before Meta Verified, like when the actual verification was there. And I was doing songs with Dondria from So Def, and the acting was going well. My money was great. Everything was fine except for that one piece in my life where I felt like I had just lost 2 very important people to me. And I was confused on whether I was supposed to go back to that situation or move forward. And I think that as men, we go through that a lot. And so in that time, I needed something to fill that space. And then I had just got hip to Kevin Samuels. I hadn't learned about Andrew Tate yet. Hadn't learned about Fresh and Fit yet. The manosphere was just being created, and it was perfect timing. So, Kev stirred up a lot of controversial statements with his statements toward African American women, and then also toward the African American men, as far as like our income, how we should look, how we should dress, etc. Because people look at him as a podcast host, but he wasn't. He was an image consultant. Right. He just became so popular in media that people forget what his actual job was, which was image consulting. So it made more sense. So now I'm checking off every list that he's saying verbally in my head, and I'm going, I don't have combat. haven't taken any jujitsu, any martial arts, any of that. So if I'm at the club and I get into an altercation with a guy, I know that I'm willing to defend myself, but do I have the skill set to win? And do I have the skill set to win effortlessly to where I don't even break a sweat? So I start taking boxing class, and when I start taking boxing class, I go in with a professional trainer who trains pros and amateurs. So after about 3 or 4 like practices, I guess you would say sessions, he throws me in there with some of his pros and some of his amateurs, and I'm getting my butt whooped, and I'm not understanding what's going on because I don't know anything about distance, techniques, jabs, all of that. I don't know anything about that. So I'm learning, and I come to a crossroads to where one day I had blood in my mouthpiece. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to get into a position where I end up with a permanent scar on my face or anything like that. So I got to make a decision whether I'm going to take this seriously and enhance my defense and really learn how to strike back, or I just need to not come back. And I said, how can I consider myself to be a man and a high value man if I make the decision not to come back? Because what's the next step after that? I quit, and then what? So I said, if I got to take on this challenge. So I took it on, and I befriended the people in the gym, and we became a family. And I asked them to teach me what was I doing wrong. Instead of coming into it with the superstar mentality of y'all should be lucky that I'm here, I went into it with every time I walk into this gym, I leave Vigilante at the door, and I walk in as Remarcus. For everybody to just see me as a boxer while I'm in here. So when I started to take that more seriously, my skill level grew tremendously because I was always an athlete and a star athlete at that. But boxing, that's a whole nother thing. You can't play boxing. So I'm in there, I'm doing my thing, I'm getting better. I'm actually competing with the people that used to beat me up, and we're having great matches and clothing brands. So then I felt confident enough to start recording myself and putting it on Instagram. Because whatever I'm recording is going out to 100,000 people minimum. So now it's like whatever it is, it's permanent. So I start putting out little snippets of me getting better, doing mitt work, doing drills and exercises, and then clothing brands start to reach out once they saw the numbers. So then I go, another stream of income. And then I noticed that I've always had what they call an athletic build, but now I have a more sexier, appealing build because my 6-pack, my 4-pack turned into a 6. My chest is developing, my arms are being more sculpted. So now I'm noticing the women that are approaching me are even changing. They're upgrading. So now it's like, okay, a more chiseled body. That's another perk. So now I got the endorsements, the chiseled body, and then celebrity boxing reaches out. It's another stream of income. And then that comes with even more with the patches on my shorts, the pay-per-view, the more celebrities that I can meet now. So now we're going back to Remarcus now meeting back up with Vigilante and talking business with each other and creating an entity and becoming a celebrity boxer now. Something I never went into it thinking that I was going to do. I never wanted to step into the ring. I wanted to learn how to fight so that I could never use it. I used to tell my girls that all the time. I hope that I never, ever have to use this, especially in front of y'all. I don't want to beat nobody up because I'm a winner. So if I get into a situation, I'm not going to stop until I'm winning. So when it turned into a celebrity boxing thing, it started to make sense, and it became safe, and it was sanctioned. So then there was so much money surrounding it. I said, this just makes sense for all of us to just get into fitness. And then it helped me turn my whole eating habits around too. So now I'm pescatarian, vegetarian, vegan, depending on the day and depending on the options that are presented. I'll still eat other stuff if that's the only stuff that's there, but my preference is eating healthier. So now I'm seeing all of these things that are surrounding it, and I'm like, okay, this is what Kev was talking about when he says that once you start on the journey to becoming more high value, how everything just follows. And then I started doing something that I coined myself, which is putting my high value on autopilot. So now I'm not going to the gym when I just have boxing class. Now I'm going to the gym on the regular. I'm making it a thing. And it's part of my lifestyle now. Yes. Now it's become lifestyle. And in that becoming lifestyle, it then makes the women who are approaching you understand that they have to be a part of that lifestyle or they can't approach you. So now you automatically have in shape women that only approach you now, or women who want to get in shape but need your push to do it. So they automatically come with a level of submission that the average man usually doesn't get. So with all of those things, it all came at once with that.
That's cool. Shoot. It inspired me.
We can do a gym session anytime. I would love to.
Yeah.
So how many boxing matches have you had so far?
One. I did something that was very interesting, and this was what I was going to say earlier, and that was when I put the footage out with the amateurs and the pros, the people who are non-professional boxers that just kind of do it in the influencer celebrity space, they don't really get in there to get hurt. They get in there for their business,
Right.
for them to advertise, to talk junk at the press conference, and then get in there, throw a couple of punches, and then hold each other's arms and go, good fight.
Right.
That's not necessarily what I was getting in there for. I wanted the titles and the belts and the accolades, because the more of those that I have is the more leverage that I have to bring celebrity boxing wherever I want it to. And the leverage for me to travel wherever I want to. Let's say I want to do it in London. If I have 5 belts, if you want to fight me for all 5 of my belts, you got to go wherever I tell you to go. So I'm looking at it from that aspect. So I pretty much scared away all of the potential opponents that I had, because they're looking at it like this is a payday, and I'm looking at it like we're going to fight and we're going to get paid anyway. So that's the reason why I only ended up having one, because there was one, shout out to Streets. He was the only person who was man enough, so to speak, to get in there with me and throw for the belt. And I'm really glad that that fight ended in a draw rather than a win, because I got a chance to see what it's like for a boxer's mentality when you're going into a fight and everybody, because in sports, you can be neutral. I just want to see a good game. In boxing, that's not how it goes. You have your fans, he has his fans. They're pulling for you, they're pulling for you. And especially when you're fighting in another person's hometown, which he lived in Florida, and I went down to Florida to go fight him. And it was my first fight, so I didn't necessarily know what I was getting myself into as far as the physicality in the ring, which is way different from training and sparring. And so when we got in there, it ended in the draw. And everybody's texting me like, are you bringing the belt home? Did you bring the belt home? Did you do it? Did you get it? Did you get it? And now I'm finally understanding what it's like for a champion to either not get a belt or to lose a belt. Because now you have to tell everybody that you're not coming back with it or that you lost it. So now that's why that dedication that professional boxers have in the gym is undying. That's why they feel like that they can't lose. Or if a person takes a hard loss, they would rather retire than to get back in the ring, because they can't suffer that mental strain of doing that again. That all makes sense, right?
Yeah. No, I was thinking about it from that perspective.
I was thinking about that 6'2" dude. Did you say it was soft?
Yeah, Albert. I say his name, Albert Ochoa. He's super soft.
He's soft.
Yeah, he's soft. And that's another thing too, is that when you become trained in combat, and when you throw a good jab, you can look at another person and be like, yeah, he ain't got it.
Right.
When you can move your feet, when you can move your head, when you can pivot, and when you can move around, you can look at somebody and be like, yeah, he ain't got it.
And you better be careful. He may surprise you.
He might, but I might surprise him.
That's true. That is true.
Now I understand why Floyd was able to look at Pacquiao all them years and be like, I really don't know what y'all see in this dude. Like, we gonna do it and we gonna get this money, but I'm just gonna win.
Right.
And of course, we're looking at Floyd like, Floyd, you been watching Pacquiao, right? Like, you know who we talking about, right? Yeah. There's another dude to beat. But he's so skilled.
Right.
He's the most skilled ever.
Right.
That now I understand.
Right.
Now I get it.
Right.
Skills pay the bills.
Would you get in the ring with Mayweather?
No.
Why not?
Nah. It's not worth the beating.
That package would be good though.
It would. It's not worth the beating. I would love to train under the money team.
But you wouldn't spar. I mean, you wouldn't fight.
No.
Not even a celebrity. You wouldn't do it.
Nah. It's not worth the beating.
Not worth the
beating. You got to think, Mayweather is about to be 50. His hands are huge, and he's been boxing since he was like 4 or 5. People don't know that his dad, his uncles all fought professionally. He just got the biggest name, but the Mayweather name was already a boxing name. So his hands are lethal weapons.
He would hurt you.
Yeah, he would hurt me bad. He would hurt me very bad. And we're about the same size.
Right, yeah. I remember when you were telling me weight class, I was thinking of you then. I was like, yeah, Mayweather's weight class.
Yeah, Mayweather weight class. And I tell people that's not in boxing all the time, if you're going to get into boxing, go down. As soon as you can, go down. Because somebody like Devin Haney and Tank and these people, we're about the same size. So if I ever fought pro, the first thing I'm gonna do is go down, so I don't gotta fight them.
Right.
And so I could just fight people that are smaller than that.
Right.
Because they not soft.
Right. No,
But Albert is soft.
All right, let's talk. Let's kind of pivot a little bit, but let's talk about the music.
Okay.
Right. So I've heard some of the music. I heard the joint that you did with. Make sure I'm saying this right.
Dondria. Fly Away.
Yeah. So I heard that joint. So how did you get into music?
Okay, so when I moved down here in 2010, my stepdad, he was the CEO of a label called Self-Made Records that was started in Michigan. So Honorable C-Note, the producer, he is my stepdad's best friend. So they were in the group together. And so the group kind of dissolved and everybody went their separate ways, but everybody was still friends. So I grew up with C-Note around, and then my uncle, Cornell, he was the lead of ministry for the church, and I played the drums at church. So he taught me how to control the choir, how to organic composition. And then when the MIDI board came around, I took that same organic composition and put it into my MIDI board. So that's why Kanye will always be one of the greatest producers ever to me, because that's what he does. He takes his organic composition and then he puts it into the MIDI board. So when I moved down here, Fat Kid, that is the cousin of my stepdad, he was the face of the group. He wanted to manage him. I was just producing. I didn't even rap yet, or whatever you would call it. And he said, "I'm gonna manage you." So I kind of got lumped into the group because the studio was at our house. So this is back when what they call the Guitar Center just started selling home studios around that time. And my mom went and bought my stepdad the studio as a gift. So this would be the equivalence of my cousin Fat Kid being Juvenile, for those familiar with the Hot Boys, and I was Wayne. Okay. So nobody projected that Wayne was going to be the star of that group. That group was definitely made for Juvenile. And Birdman, that would be my stepdad. So, and I was probably more like Minnie Fresh, to be honest. Probably like a mixture between Minnie and Wayne. I was like a mixture in both. So as we got older, my work ethic became the most outstanding out of everybody. I was still in school, so I was able to have a fan base of people that I was seeing every single day, whilst everybody else was out of school, moving from Michigan to Atlanta, so they didn't have a huge fan base. And then because I was younger, I was able to understand social media more. So my social media fame was growing as my outside fame was growing the most, so I started to become higher projected in the group. So the group dissolved. My stepdad gave me the studio and me the MIDI board to where it was all of ours at first, and then it became mine. And then I took that and I said, what I want to do with this music industry is I want to bridge the gap between the older generation and the new generation, because there's such a huge gap. Either you support the music or you don't. And just because you support the music doesn't mean that you can't have any criticism of what's going on. We all live in the world. We all have ears. If you put your music on the radio, you are opening it up for other people to have an opinion about what they're hearing in their car speakers that they pay for, without you being called a hater. The PC culture that we live in now kind of has skewed what a hater is and what a critic is. And with me being a vigilante, I don't care. So that was kind of my approach to the music industry. And I wanted to do the song that I did with Dondria to show people that you don't have to conform to make good music. You can make music like this that feels good, and you don't have to cross over to pop to do it. You can do it in hip hop. That's why no matter how many songs B.O.B. makes, the song that he's going to be known for the rest of his career is Airplanes, because that's the one that resonates with the people. So I want people to become more okay with that. It's okay to make music like that and not feel like that, okay, we're going to just label this as a Christian song, or we're going to label this as a crossover pop song. No, this is just the music I make. That's why I love Macklemore. Just makes the music that he makes.
Well, I had mentioned this before about a statement Tyler, the creator, said. He was, I don't remember who he was talking to at the time, but he was saying, they told him that he should just make music that he wanted to make. don't try to jump on the bandwagon or this genre or that genre just to, to put something out there to get in. The music will have more longevity if you make music that you want to make. It'll be more unique. It'll be more withstanding over time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just don't jump on the bandwagon and do that. I'm not sure if that's your approach or not when you make your music. Is it just for you? You're not making it because, hey, this is what's hot right now.
It's a mixture of both.
Okay.
But
at least you're honest.
Yeah, it's a mixture of both because you gotta also understand whatever is hot, you gotta understand why it's hot. Is it hot because it's good or is it hot because it's known? So that's where I differentiated it. So even when people were doing the TikTok dances, I was vocal in saying all of these dances suck. All these songs suck. And I'm not afraid to say it. Like the first one to come out that went viral on TikTok was the Classy Bougie Ratchet. That's not a good song.
I do remember that.
And the dance wasn't good either, but it was very popular. So I made my decision, stay out of it. What's next? Corvette. Dance song, dance, no. I'ma stay out of it. But what I'm doing is I'm acknowledging that I'm seeing it. A hater is somebody that's like, man, I don't even know what that is. But knowing that they saw it, that's a hater. I'm gonna let you know I seen it and I didn't like it. So you either respect that level of honesty because you saying to the people out in public that you can't accept the criticism if you can't accept somebody telling you that they seen it but didn't like it.
Right.
So as I continued to evaluate what I was seeing with the new social media platforms and the new what would be considered hot, I had to make a decision on what I wanted to be a part of. So when I first started doing mixtapes back when I was 15, I took the songs that Wayne was doing, No Ceilings and Sorry for the Wait, and I took those and I put them on YouTube as a direct comparison because YouTube wasn't paying yet, so they didn't care about copyrights. So I would just use those as freestyles to get my name out. Now those songs was hot. The Wasted beat, fire. Watch My Shoes beat, fire. Ice Cream Paint Job beat, fire. But all trends. So this is like an example of the contrast of these are all trends, but these trends is hot. These are all trends, but these trends is garbage. And I think that we live in a society where it's so PC now to where you can't even say that something that's hot ain't good. If it's hot, somebody gonna tell you, well, I mean, you hear somebody else like it. Well, I don't care what somebody else like. I told you I don't think it's hot. That's just it.
I mean, that's a great answer on that and everything. I'm glad you're transparent on that because some people they'll just be like, hey, it is what it is. I'm just trying to get some money.
Yeah.
On that.
Part 2, next week.
Martial arts and